There are growing calls to strip Harry and Meghan of their royal titles. The New York Post is reporting that locals in the UK say enough is enough, especially after Prince Harry's disastrous BBC interview, which aired hours after he lost his appeal for taxpayer.
It's not a financial thing. Working royals do not profit. They do not use their names to make money. It's an honour to have an HRH.
Absolutely.
So the fact that she's continued to use this HRH when they've been instructed not to, I think is absolutely infuriating in Buckingham Palace. It was agreed with Queen Elizabeth that they will not use the HRH title. That is a long-standing precedent, and there's good reason for it. Basically, the HRH is only given to working royals and senior members of the royal family.
I could feel something big about to go down the second whispers started drifting through Westminster. At first, it looked like just another messy headline. Prince Harry versus the crown again? Who even keeps track anymore? Then boom, a real petition pops up, and suddenly, this is not some random Twitter rant or celebrity meltdown online. This thing hit different. This landed straight in serious political territory, and now people with real power are talking about Harry's royal title like it might actually get cut off. The move came out of the House of Lords, the heavy hitters of British politics stepping into the ring for real this time. This is not gossip and not palace. PR spin. Spinning stories everywhere now. The talk now is about a serious push to strip Prince Harry of his royal title, the last thin thread still tying him to the family he walked away from. And people in high places are clearly watching closely. And if anyone thinks this is just drama for flashy headlines, think again. This is about power, legacy, and a massive question hanging in the air.
Harry's digging an even bigger hole for himself here.
Well, I think he's dug so deep now, he'll strike water any day now.
Can someone burn every royal bridge, move across the ocean to California, build a whole brand around that royal connection, and still keep a title tied to the crown? That question is now causing serious tension. This is not just a family disagreement anymore. It's starting to look like a full-on constitutional clash, the same country that once adored him. The young prince walking behind Princess Diana's coffin in that heartbreaking moment, the soldier prince people once respected and supported. Now the public is watching a very different chapter unfold, and the tone has completely shifted. And this time, it is not just tabloids throwing wild punches for attention. Parliament itself is stepping into the conversation, and that changes the entire game overnight. What first looked like another round of drama around Harry and Meghan has now blown up into something much bigger. Questions about loyalty, identity, and where Prince Harry truly stands today. If this petition ever moved forward, he would not just lose a title. He could lose the last official link tying him to the monarchy, and that would be massive. So before we dive deeper into this wild situation, hit like, tap subscribe, and stay locked in, because what comes next in this story is seriously shocking. At first glance, this sounded like straight-up clickbait, the kind of headline people scroll past because it feels way too wild to be real. But this time, it is not rumors, not internet noise, and not some trending hashtag blowing up online. This situation is actually unfolding inside the House of Lords, one of the oldest centers of political power tied to royal tradition in the United Kingdom. And now there is serious discussion about stripping Prince Harry of the Duke of Sussex title. This is not social media backlash or random online outrage. These are senior lawmakers stepping forward and putting the issue on the table. These are people who deal with history, law, and real power, not internet drama or viral arguments. And here is the twist everyone has been quietly talking about. Harry is reportedly furious. Not slightly annoyed, not caught off guard, but seriously angry because that title is not just some fancy label. That title carries weight. It opens doors in Hollywood, in major business deals, and inside elite circles wherever he goes. Take that title away, and suddenly a lot of that influence could start fading very fast. For many people watching this unfold, the move does not look like a simple warning either. It looks like the first domino in a much bigger shift around Harry's royal identity. Seeing Parliament move in this direction feels like the establishment finally drawing a hard line. The once celebrated prince could now be facing one of the toughest public moments of his life, and this is not just one politician pushing an agenda. The petition behind all of this exploded almost. Overnight, tens of thousands of people quickly added their names, and within days the noise spread from Sussex all the way up to Scotland. Voices from across the UK started getting louder and louder. At that point, it stopped looking like background chatter and started looking like a real movement gaining traction. Parliament could not just brush it off anymore. Both the House of Lords and the House of Commons were suddenly being pulled into the conversation.
Now, Meghan, just last week, she did her first long-form sit-down podcast interview. She showed a basket that she had sent to the host of the podcast as a thank you for allowing her to come on. And here you can kind of zoom in here and it says, with the compliments of Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex.
And that is when it became clear things were turning serious very fast. Then the situation took an even more intense turn. The push against Harry is no longer just public frustration or heated debate. Critics are pointing directly to a real law with deep history behind it. It is called the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917, a law so old it was last used during World War I. Back then, it allowed the Crown to remove royal titles from members of the royal family who were seen as acting against Britain during wartime. That alone shows how heavy this discussion has become. Now some critics are bringing that same law back into the spotlight. They argue that while Harry's actions may not violate any law on paper, many believe the situation still damages the institution tied to those titles. Across the country, frustration has been building for a while. Many people say they are tired of watching someone criticize the monarchy while still benefiting from the prestige connected to a royal title. To them, this is not just about hurt feelings or personal drama. The real question being raised is whether someone can step away from royal duties, publicly challenge the institution, and still carry the royal branding everywhere they go. What started as loud public criticism is now turning into real political pressure. And when public opinion and political leaders begin lining up on the same side, things can escalate very quickly. But here is where the controversy really starts to explode. After leaving the UK, Harry did not disappear into a quiet, private life. Instead, he became very outspoken, especially during interviews and public appearances in the United States. Those moments immediately raised eyebrows among many observers watching closely. Traditionally, members of the British royal family are expected to remain politically neutral. That rule has been part of royal conduct for generations. But critics argue that Harry stepped into conversations that are highly political in nature, which instantly made the situation far more complicated. Some lawmakers and commentators have even started using a sharp phrase, title laundering. What they mean by that is the idea that Harry may still benefit from the influence and attention that comes with a royal title while speaking on political and social issues abroad. For many traditional royal watchers, that crosses a major line. British royals historically avoid getting involved in political debates outside the UK. Yet Harry still carries the title Duke of Sussex, and that connection to the crown keeps the controversy burning hotter by the day. Now the conversation is no longer quiet whispers behind palace walls. Members of Parliament are stepping forward publicly and asking a blunt question. Why is a British duke living overseas weighing in on American political debates? For many officials, this is not just about etiquette or royal tradition. They argue it could turn into a serious problem if royal titles start getting pulled into political arguments abroad. Because once a royal title starts being used in political conversations, critics warn the entire system that protects the monarchy's neutrality could start shaking. That balance has been part of how the royal institution operates for generations, and many leaders believe it cannot be taken lightly. From Harry's point of view, he may feel he is simply speaking openly about issues he cares about. But inside Parliament, some leaders are reading those moves very differently. To them, it looks like the boundaries around royal titles are being pushed and tested in ways that have not been seen before. And now the response is getting stronger.
Prince William, he's reportedly furious after it emerged that Meghan Markle is still using her HRH title despite agreeing to drop the title when the Sussexes left royal duties.
I think Meghan Markle has been very brazen recently with the use of the HRH.
Lawmakers are bringing up historic laws, long-standing royal traditions, and serious questions about what someone holding a royal title should or should not be doing publicly. At the same time, many observers point out that since stepping away from official royal duties, Harry has continued speaking publicly about the monarchy again and again. From the explosive Oprah interview to the Netflix series and later his memoir Spare, he shared deeply personal stories about life inside the royal family. At first, millions of people were curious and eager to hear his side of the story. But as time passed, critics began arguing that the steady stream of revelations about family tensions pushed the situation into uncomfortable territory. Some longtime supporters have even said the repeated criticism involving family members, including his father, his brother, and others connected to the royal household, made the situation feel less like healing and more like a growing public feud. And the more these stories keep circulating, the more pressure builds around Harry's royal title. Now, Parliament is beginning to say openly what many people across the UK have been quietly thinking for quite some time. The message coming from critics is blunt and direct. You cannot walk away from the royal household, criticize it publicly again and again, and still expect to hold on to the same royal title like nothing has changed. Lawmakers and commentators argue that Prince Harry has continued using the Duke of Sussex title while living in California and speaking openly about the monarchy. To them, that creates a serious contradiction. On one hand, he stepped away from royal duties, but on the other hand, the title connected to that system still follows him everywhere. Some members of Parliament are even describing the situation in dramatic terms. They say the issue is not about criminal behavior at all. Instead, they argue it is about symbolism and respect for the institution that granted the title in the first place. For years, the monarchy itself stayed mostly quiet while the controversy kept building. But now that politicians are stepping directly into the discussion, it looks like patience inside parts of Parliament may be running out. And when lawmakers start speaking this openly, people across the country begin paying very close attention. Public opinion in the UK also appears to be shifting. Several polls suggest a growing number of people believe Harry should no longer hold the title Duke of Sussex. Some surveys even show more than half of respondents supporting that idea, with the numbers climbing higher among older and more traditional voters. What makes the situation even more striking is that voices from Sussex itself, the region tied to his title, have also been signing petitions and speaking out about the controversy. One resident summed up the growing frustration in a comment that quickly grabbed attention. He said, "He doesn't represent us anymore. He represents himself." That line spread fast because it captured exactly how many critics now see the situation. While Harry still attracts attention and support in parts of the United States, the mood back in the UK has clearly become far more divided. In many circles across Britain, the tone around his role and his title has changed dramatically. For many critics in the UK, the frustration is not simply about Prince Harry choosing to step away from royal duties. Most people understand that leaving the system was his personal decision. The real anger, according to several commentators and lawmakers, comes from the belief that he left the royal structure, criticized it publicly, and yet still benefits from the global recognition tied to the royal brand. To them, it feels like trying to stand in two worlds at once. And more voices are now saying that situation cannot continue forever. Even some people who once strongly defended Harry are beginning to change their tone. They argue the issue is no longer about one controversy or one interview. Instead, it has become the accumulation of years of headlines, major interviews, personal revelations, documentaries, and media appearances that repeatedly focused on disputes with the monarchy. Over time, critics say that constant spotlight on royal conflict has slowly shifted public opinion across Britain. Many observers now believe the public mood has hardened. The message being echoed by some voters is very direct. If someone chooses to leave the royal institution and openly challenge it, they should not continue carrying a title that represents it. That is why the pressure building inside Parliament is not happening in isolation. Lawmakers are reacting to a wave of public frustration that has been growing louder across the country. The political debate is now being fueled by voices from voters, commentators, and public figures who believe the situation has gone on long enough. Then there is the business side of the debate, which has added even more tension to the conversation. Over the past few years, Harry and Meghan have signed several major media deals, including projects connected to Netflix, Spotify, and major publishing ventures. Critics often point out that the titles Duke and Duchess of Sussex frequently appear in headlines tied to those projects. To skeptics, that does not look like coincidence. To them, it looks more like a calculated strategy that keeps the royal connection front and center. And that perception is exactly what has pushed this controversy to a boiling point. Some critics have even started using a sharp phrase for what they believe is happening: title trafficking. What they mean is the idea that royal status may be helping promote books, documentaries, and major media deals while at the same time presenting a life that is supposed to be more private. That argument has been spreading quickly across talk shows, newspapers, and political discussions. To those critics, the situation feels deeply contradictory, and they say the public is no longer ignoring it. Another point often raised is the continued visibility of royal titles within the family conversation. Even though Harry and Meghan stepped away from official royal duties, the titles connected to their family still appear regularly in headlines and public debate. Supporters argue that titles are part of heritage and identity, something tied to history and family legacy. Critics, however, see it very differently. They believe it sends mixed signals. To them, it makes the departure from royal life look less like a clean break and more like a carefully managed brand decision. And that is exactly why some voices inside Parliament say the situation needs to be addressed clearly and directly. For many lawmakers, royal titles were never meant to function like marketing tools. Historically, those titles represent duty, service, and a lifelong connection to the institution of the monarchy. So when critics argue that a royal title is being used mainly to increase media influence, the reaction becomes very strong. Some commentators even say it makes the title appear less like a historic honor and more like a promotional label. For traditional royal watchers, that crosses a serious line. What makes this situation even more dramatic is the response from the palace itself. Buckingham Palace has mostly stayed silent throughout the growing debate. King Charles III has not publicly stepped in to defend Harry during this controversy. Many royal observers believe that silence is intentional. Instead of appearing like a father stepping directly into a political storm involving his son, the palace may be allowing the larger system, parliament, public debate, and long-standing royal tradition to deal with the issue. Then, there is Prince William, whom many believe is focused heavily on protecting the long-term stability of the monarchy. Reports from royal commentators suggest he has also not publicly pushed back against the political discussion. For him, and for many figures inside royal circles, the issue may be less about family conflict and more about protecting the institution itself. And if Parliament ever did move forward with removing the title Duke of Sussex, the impact would be enormous. It would not just be a small wording change on paper, it could completely reshape Harry's public identity and how people see him across the world. The influence, the royal connection, and the mystique that surrounds the title could suddenly shift overnight. And that possibility is exactly why so many people are watching this situation so closely. Critics argue that the entire public image surrounding Harry and Meghan has been driven more by royal drama than royal duty. The interviews, the media deals, the documentaries. Many commentators say the royal connection sits right at the center of all of it. In their view, the global fascination largely comes from the link to the monarchy. If that royal title were ever removed, they believe the entire story would suddenly look very different. Without the Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles attached, critics say the attention around their projects might not carry the same weight. Some critics even argue the couple would simply be public figures sharing personal experiences rather than figures tied to a royal legacy. Supporters strongly disagree with that idea, of course, but inside political and royal circles, the debate has clearly intensified. For some lawmakers, the issue is not only about tradition or symbolism. They say the real question is whether royal titles should continue carrying influence if the relationship with the monarchy has fundamentally changed. That is why discussions inside Parliament have started focusing on something much bigger than one person. Many lawmakers say the real issue is protecting the institution itself. History shows that actions involving royal titles are not impossible. Back in 1917, King George V approved the Titles Deprivation Act. That law allowed royal titles to be removed from family members who supported countries that were enemies of Britain during World War I. That moment proved something important. In rare situations, both the monarchy and the government can step in when they believe the integrity of royal titles is on the line. There are also more recent reminders that royal status can shift quickly when controversy grows. Prince Andrew, for example, stepped back from royal duties and lost several honorary military roles and patronages after intense public criticism. Moments like that reinforce a message often repeated by royal historians. The institution of the monarchy always comes before any individual member. Now, some members of Parliament are openly asking whether Harry should continue holding a royal title while living overseas and speaking critically about the monarchy. They argue the law already exists, public debate is growing louder, and the situation deserves serious discussion inside government. If anything were ever to move forward, the outcome would not come from dramatic headlines alone. It would unfold through formal procedures, debates inside historic parliamentary chambers, legal reviews, and official decisions made carefully behind closed doors. And if the title Duke of Sussex were ever removed, it would mark a massive turning point in the long and complicated story between Prince Harry and the monarchy. After the interviews, the memoir, the podcasts, and the legal battles, many observers believe this moment could become a major turning point in the entire saga. For years, the conflict between Prince Harry and the royal institution has unfolded across headlines around the world. But now the conversation has moved into far more serious territory, political chambers, government debate, and national discussion. If Parliament ever chose to act on the issue of his title, it would mark a dramatic moment where a centuries-old system finally closes the door on one of its most controversial modern chapters. Critics argue that Harry did not simply step away from royal life. In their view, he left the system and then publicly challenged the monarchy again and again through interviews, media projects, and his memoir, Spare. That constant spotlight on royal conflict turned him into a powerful global voice for some audiences. But for many others, especially back in the UK, it created deep frustration and growing disappointment. And now those emotions are fueling louder calls for change. Supporters still defend him strongly, saying he has every right to speak openly about his experiences and his perspective. But critics argue the debate over his royal title has become something much bigger than personal disagreements within a famous family. To them, the issue is about legitimacy, identity, and who truly represents the values tied to the monarchy. That is why the petition and the political pressure surrounding it feels so symbolic for many people who are adding their names. For them, it is not only about removing a title. They believe it is about sending a clear message that Harry no longer represents them or the institution he once served. Meanwhile, the monarchy itself has remained mostly silent. But in royal history, silence can sometimes say more than any public statement. With Parliament now pulled into the debate, the next chapter of this story could reshape Prince Harry's relationship with the crown in ways few people expected just a few years ago. One thing is becoming very clear. The entire world is watching closely, and whatever happens next could change everything surrounding Harry's royal identity and his connection to the monarchy. If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone else who has been following the royal drama. And now I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Harry should keep the title Duke of Sussex, or do you think it should be taken away? Drop your opinion down in the comments below and join the conversation.